My bad, I just cut that off on accident. It is like spooky action, or what Einstein would call spooky action. It's literal quantum entanglement of thought. So that's the similar paradigm principle, etc., that's going on here. Now research is emerging to suggest that sound may be so vital to the life of plants as to contribute to their shape. So their very actual physical form, or the way that we are able to physically observe them, is actually determined somewhat, to some degree, by sound. It's their vital sign. It's their vital information. It's like their birth chart, like their vitals. You go to the hospital and you get all the vital information taken down first before you see the doctor. That's the prerequisite for your defenses. In 2019, researchers at the Tel Aviv University found that the beech evening primrose, a lemon yellow teacup-shaped flower that grows low to the ground, would increase the sweetness of its nectar within 3 minutes of being exposed to an audio recording of honeybee flight. By the way, if you've never heard that honeybee flight, it's the song that's like, I don't know, I can't sing, obviously, to save my life, and also my jaw hurts today. So no. But you should go listen to it. It's a good song. Dance to it once in ballet. The primrose would completely ignore sounds that fell outside of the frequency of the hum of the bee wings. The team, led by evolutionary biologist Lilith Hadney, theorized that the sweeter the nectar, it had a higher sugar content than flowers not exposed to bee sounds, would better entice pollinators and increase the chance for cross-pollination. This cross-pollination just makes me laugh every time that I read it. I apologize, but you know how people say that you can have like makeup relations? Well, this is like angry relations. Like we're gonna pollinate because we want the sugar content, and that's about it. Even plants do that. So you know how they were talking about how if there's a good idea within one species, it's usually seen across the spectrum. Humans are not the only ones that reproduce for fun. Just saying. Really, go watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You'll get it. Multiple pollinators are known to congregate around plants that other pollinator has visited a few minutes before. It could make good sense for the plant to anticipate the bee in that case. But could the teacup really be a satellite dish listening for its pollinators? Hadney and her co-author Maureen Vietz, then a graduate student in Hadney's lab, found that when they played the bee recording again, this time with a movement tracking laser trained on the evening primrose, the vibrations of the flower matched up with the wavelengths of the bee recording. The flower was acting like an amplifier. So, it's like bells, ringing bells. Pavlov's bell with the dogs salivating in a whole bunch. It's kind of like that, except the flower is the bell for the bee. The team then plucked off a few petals, breaking the flower's perfect bowl, and retested the flower. This time it was unable to resonate at the bee frequency. The flower, in this case, was definitely the part of the plant responsible for hearing. Yeah, judge that, right? And it suggests that it had taken on the bowl shape for exactly the same reason satellite dishes are concave. We found a potential hearing organ, which is the flower itself, she said. When she looked at flowers now, she sees ears everywhere. So think of like just a field full of flowers. Automatically, I don't know why, but the Wizard of Oz and the poppy flowers is coming to mind. They're all like ears, like just listening intently. It's kind of intimidating when you look at it like that. It's like looking at the People's Fair or something like that, and realizing that that many people might be attracted to that many more people. It's a lot of pollination, okay? Roots, it seems, can be just as acoustically sensitive. Why have ears above ground only when half our body is under the dirt? There's plenty to hear down there too. Just ask a mole. Or if you're Monica Gagliano, you might prefer to ask a pea. The pea seedling in Gagliano's lab at the University of Western Australia looked like they were wearing giant plastic pants. The curly top of each young shoot peeked out from the top of its own PVC cube. Each tube forked at the bottom into two legs like an upside-down Y. I don't know why I'm doing that so dramatically, like, peace up, 8 town down. No, I'm not. I'm actually, not. There's no sign drawing here. I'm just showing you what it looked like, apparently. Just go with it. I don't know. I'm just channeling. Gagliano was testing the pea's ability to hear, and more specifically, whether they could hear the movement of water. Yeah, that's right. Roots hear actual H2O. The PVC pants were effectively Y mazes, the same conceptual structures used to test learning and behavior in lab mice. In this case, the Y was testing which direction the pea seedling's root would decide to grow. At the bottom of each pant leg, So, and actually, I think there's actually in Fantasia, there's one scene where the flowers are dancing, and they have their roots above ground, like they pull themselves up out of the ground, and they're walking. That's kind of what I'm envisioning, is like walking different types of plants, wearing pants. Maybe not dancing with Mickey, but close enough, right? The Y was testing which direction the pea seedling's root would decide to grow. At the bottom of each plant leg, pant leg. I don't know why I keep saying plant when it says pant. Mostly because we're reading a book about plants. But still, I must be kind of lethargic. Gagliano placed a different tray. So under one, she would place one tray, under the other, she would place a different tray. After some days of growing, the pea's roots would come up on the fork in the pipe and have to make a decision, much like a mouse deciding where to turn in a maze. In the first set of experiments, one tray contained a few teaspoons of water and the other was empty. It's a well-observed fact that plant roots can detect moisture gradients in soil, in huge quotation marks, allowing them to find water in close range, and as expected, nearly every pea shoot grew towards the water tray. So if one was empty and one had water, they're always going with the water with making that decision, okay? I don't know why I felt the need to shimmy my way in there, but I shimmied my way right in. So next, Gagliano redid the experiment, but instead of water freely available in a tray, she pumped water through a sealed plastic pipe near the base of one of the legs of the Y, while the other Y leg remained above an empty tray. An aquarium pump continuously replenished the water. This time, there was no way for the plant to detect moisture. Only the live sound of running water was available as a cue. Sound only, no actual water. But again, nearly every pea plant grew in root toward the sound of the running water. Next, they were given the choice between the tray of water and the water flowing in a sealed pipe. In this case, they chose the open water, suggesting that plants prioritize actual moisture, a guaranteed drink, over the sound of it. I'm telling you, there's so many parallels with human beings, it's actually stunning. I bet if you were to be a barfly and watch the behavior of women, like if we're on a she-wolf mission with Shakira, right? and we're like out at the bar having a drink, or at least we want to drink. We want a sip of some actual something. The behavior changes. I'm just gonna say I've been guilty of it my damn self. But I'm just saying these are the spectrum of behavior that seems to be widely applicable. When you're trying to get root water from somebody at the bar, I'm sure as a man that they behave differently as well. So do not feel guilty. That goes both ways. Sometimes you want to drink, sometimes you want root water. Depends on what you're hearing, the pickup lines. Pant legs, get it? Pants, never mind. London britches. Whew, so many jokes going through my head, but I'm not even going to go there. The seedlings appear to be able to parse various sensory cues, ranking the inputs in terms of priority to their own health, Gagliano thought. But more pressingly, they could hear and move toward the sound of real running water. This would likely not surprise a plumber. See what I mean? They just kind of line themselves up for like hella jokes. I never waste a dirty mind. Plumbers are accustomed to the frustrating phenomenon of tree roots bursting through sealed water pipes. Cities spend millions each year repairing municipal pipes punctured by root intrusion. Germany, for example, spends an estimated 37 million euros per year repairing root burst pipes. The U.S. Forest Service points to root intrusion as the cause of more than half of all sewage pipe blockages. Now, Gagliano is urging her fellow researchers to think broadly about what else plants might possibly hear. If plants can hear animals, they can also hear each other. It has long been known that plants emit very quiet clicking noises when air bubbles in their stems pop as water travels up them. Okay, I'm just going to say that submarine life, aquatic life forms of all types, who use any kind of sonar, also are using clicks as measurement to see where the distance of things may be, how far from something, depth perception, right? Also, if you're in the Marines or if you're like a nautical kind of person, clicks is the measure of distance. Not clicks the same as aquatic life. I'm not talking about the death rattle either. Like, I'm not talking about that either. This process is called cavitation, and these cavitation clicks seem to increase when plants are dealing with drought stress. This makes sense. Less water may mean more air bubbles in the stem. Gagliano wondered if this clicking noise might be the intentional utterances themselves and not just bubbles accidentally popping. Hadney, who was behind the evening primrose study, made a discovery in 2023 that is the first solid evidence that the cavitation click theory could be true. She and Yossi Yovel, who studied bat sounds, see, they're airborne too, I'm telling you, all over the place, put microphones up to wheat, corn, grapevines, and cactus and recorded their ultrasonic clicks. I listened to the recordings, sped up the amplified audible volume, and they sounded like popcorn popping or like a person aggressively typing. I did a reading a while back on machines. I think it was called Thought Popcorn. Aggressive typing, right? I don't want to be that aggressive about it though. Just making a note for yourself if nobody else cares. And each species, I'm just gonna make up some spicy new words for you here. Each species of plant seemed to have their own click frequency. A cactus sounded very different from a grape, for example, but most intriguingly, the clicks dramatically changed according to the plant's condition. Hadney explained, there was a big difference in sounds from a stressed, dehydrated plant and a watered, healthy one. Tomatoes, for example, made 35 sounds per hour on average when drought stressed, versus fewer than one per hour on average when the plant was given all the water it needed. So basically, they shut up as soon as you feed them water. So they want to photosynthesize so bad. The clicks are increased sharply when she clipped a leaf, acting as a stand-in for a munching herbivore. Unbothered plants were very quiet by comparison. Tomato and tobacco, when they're feeling well, they emit very few sounds, Hadney said. Hadney's team developed machine learning models that were capable of distinguishing between plant sounds and general noises, and could identify the condition of the plants, dry, cut, or intact, based solely on the emitted sounds. This certainly opens a possibility that farmers equipped with ultrasonic sensors would one day be able to listen for the water needs of their plants. But more intriguingly is what this might mean for plant communication, identity and health status. That's a lot of information available to anyone who can hear it. Well, hello. Humans can't without amplification, but moths can, so can bats and mice. The sounds Hadney recorded would be audible to small creatures from up to 16 feet away, according to her measurements. Could animals or enticingly other plants detect and interpret those sounds? In other words, could the plant be communicating with sound? If we can tell, then other organisms can tell, she said. I do believe, pointing case. Thank you, Ophelia. Hadney was cautious on the phone with me not to oversell her findings. They don't tell us anything about intention on the part of the clicking plant, she said. Clicking could be just a byproduct of a physical phenomenon like our stomachs growling when we're hungry. I knew there was going to, I haven't read this part. This is actually where I stopped reading right there. But I knew there was going to be something about stomachs. I don't know what it is about growling stomachs and the feeling of like nausea, hunger, or, diarrhea. Anyway, not diarrhea for real, but I'm just saying, carry on. I'm not saying language yet because language assumes both sides, but even in the most conservative case, she says, she considers it likely that someone is listening. Someone is listening. If rapid clicks mean the plant is coping with drought or besieged by insects, other plants might use the noises as a warning. Perhaps they close their stomata or raise their immune response. That's what Hadney plans to study next, and she just secured a major grant to do it. But what would that mean for the plant sending out the clicks? Could they be intentional? That's where it gets tricky. It's almost like medical information, medical warnings. Like don't take something for granted. That's what one plant is telling another. And if you do, you're going to be consumed. It's a different kind of consumption than what we're used to, but consumed nonetheless. Caterpillar, hungry, starving, stomach growling caterpillars that could turn into, cannibalistic caterpillars if the tomatoes are communicating this way. Anyway, I'm just being really dramatic. Also, go watch the reading from before if you don't know what I'm talking about. But what would that mean for plants sending out the clicks? Could they be intentional? That's where it gets tricky. Yeah. We know that once another organism starts using information provided by another living being, evolution often steps in to fine-tune the organism doing the providing. They're telling you about providing healthcare. It might be entirely passive, but if others are responding to the sounds, then natural selection can act on the emitter. Telling you, barfly. That would be like the best plant wingman ever. Just saying. No, probably not. Actually, if I had wings, I'd probably be a predator. Or at least considered one. But so are wolves, Shakira. So there. Hadney says, in other words, the sounds could have evolved beyond their humble origins as accidental noises. Yeah, it's a true story. They might now be optimized to serve a very real purpose, like communication. It's complicated. I don't know how many people have their status on Facebook that's like that, right? We arrived to this prediction thinking about tools for communication. Science is a long process. We're not here yet, Hadney says winkingly. Gagliano compares the question to bat sonar. Over a century after the first evidence emerged, science refused to believe that bats could be using the sound to orient themselves in space. It seemed too far outside assumptions of what animals could possibly do. Scientific belief hampered the discovery of echolocation in bats. Could not be the same happening with plants. So that's weird to me that humans, don't believe that we might have some kind of sixth sense, because we are also mammals. Do you realize that bats are mammals? Just because they have wings doesn't mean they're not mammals. Those are not feathers on bat wings. It's hair. I'm being serious. Frogs, also in the reptile family, I think, just like lizards and dragons. I don't know that for sure, actually. I shouldn't talk. But I'm just saying, like, if you ever look at the aquatic amphibious life, they might be amphibians. I don't know if they're amphibious reptiles, because I'm pretty sure there's water snakes. Anyway, indeed, others have suggested echolocation as one motivation for a plant to make a sound at all. Climbing vines are known to circle the air as seedlings, looking for an upright staff to climb, and seem to locate the position of an appropriate climbing surface long before actually coming into contact with it. Right, so you know how I was just talking about stomach noises? I swear this is like where I stopped. It's like a precognition. They've already proven that it happens. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. Go read your own Minority Report then. Stefano Mancuso, one of the original plant neurobiology advocates and a frequent collaborator of Gagliano's, has used time-lapse video to observe the phenomenon in bean plants as they search for and locate a nearby metal pole. Okay, Jack and the Beanstalk, we're going to stop right here. This is page 114. Kind of a lot to take in. We're going to talk about hairs. How you hear using hair, how you sonar echolocate like a bat, or how plants do that at least. So, just saying. I'm going to actually use Oracle deck first today, and then we'll use the plant deck to get clarification. Survival. Psychic awareness. This is in the reverse. I'm saying this means what they were saying about preemptively defending oneself. It's the throw, right? If your synapses in your brain don't tell you that someone has thrown a ball at you, you're gonna get hit in the face. That popped right over it. There's family. So survival of a family without psychic awareness is difficult when you're a plant. And I think that was like the first line of what we read. Basically, that if you're not able to move, get up and move. If you're not able to like put your hands up or make a diamond to catch it, or whatever response you're going to have, you're more susceptible to being attacked in very specific ways. Top of the reading to you. That's kind of what I'm saying. Your brain is more susceptible to being attacked if you don't have psychic awareness. So let me show you the way that this came out. Here we've got survival, number 19, number 47, psychic awareness, and then family, Holy Spirit, and number 10, okay? If you don't believe in connection or interconnectedness of anything, including yourself, roots, plants, vibrational frequencies, then there's really no reason for you to understand what I'm about to say. If you are a root system that is either inclined to go either towards the water or away from the water, because this is a lotus growing out of mud, okay, it's in the reverse here. So if you don't believe in vibrational frequencies, or if you've got a, for lack of a better term, and I'm sorry if this seems disrespectful, but a muddied perception of someone else, or their warning signs, their red flags, we want to stick with the bar flag, or even with family, if you've got a family and you guys need to survive in a specific way, if you don't know or don't have any psychic connection, intuition, awareness of one another, if you're not tapped in, if you don't necessarily give a darn, if there's a really negative connotations, that's going to go ahead and muddy this water to the point where nothing is going to grow out of it. Or it's equivalent to an empty tray. Okay? This one is the one that's full. The intuition comes from inside. The plant is its own plant. Even though it may have a neighboring plant on either side of it, it doesn't mean that that plant is the same plant as the neighboring plant, although they might have a common predator or a common issue. I remember finding out that bed bugs could travel through walls, that termites can chew through entire systems of a house, of a building. If one person inside of one of the units of that building gets rid of all the termites, they do a great job, okay? Perfect job getting rid of all the infestation. It doesn't matter if the infestation has not been treated for the entire building, if that makes sense. This is what this is kind of saying to me. You can have a classroom full of children. Let's use this gurgling stomach thing, right? If one child, here's the oyster, and the reverse was survival. One child starts vomiting, right? As a teacher, you've got to have the intuitive awareness, the psychic, not psychic even, it's just common sense to some degree. Use your intuition that if they didn't eat some bad oysters, you could have some type of stomach bug on your hands, which is going to spread around the classroom and possibly to you. Same thing as a nurse working in a hospital. Understand that these things, some things are transmitted. And in this case, the transmission is the vibrational frequency. It is the ringing bell of the flower. It's the buzzing bee. It's the root system that either can hear the water or not, can sense moisture, fluid moisture signatures or not. Yeah, like here's a fenugreek in the reverse. Yeah, there's it's like having a walkie-talkie that doesn't actually, you don't talk into. Remember how we were talking about the listening to cups with a string attached? You could do something like that, same kind of vibrational frequency experiment by putting a cup on a wall or on a door that you're trying to listen through. It's a way of eavesdropping, right? You put that cup upside down onto a flat surface or the wall, and you can listen or hear what's going on the other side of the wall a hell of a lot more, a hell of a lot better. You're not talking in that case. There is no string or wire for it to travel through. It is not the proverbial pea stalking the metal pole. In that case, it is that's more of the intuitive understanding that vibrational frequency travels, right? It's the Bose system being perceived rather than being projected. So water through the pipes. Inokataki mushroom. So now we've got mushroom and mushroom here. We got the 10 of oysters upside down, the 2 of fenugreek upside down, and then the 3 of inokataki in the upright. So this is the family of plants that is trying to communicate, right? And although the oysters and the fenugreek might not be the same, this is maybe the child that ate the bad oysters for lunch yesterday, okay? Now they're really sick. They've got to survive that. If you already know that, if maybe in their presentation or their homework assignment that you graded on lunch period or whatever, you read that they had their first experience with oysters yesterday, you might be able to ascertain, okay, there's an allergic reaction going on to these oysters. The rest of the class might stand a chance. If not, if there's no oyster issues, then the rest of the class is more likely to have, you see all those different little tiny stalks popping up from just these 3 oysters? That's like the rest of the class getting sick, but not in the case that it's the oyster. If it is not the oyster, then you got fenugreek, then it's a problem. I don't know how to explain that. You understand what I mean. 10 to 3. Let's see what we've got at the bottom. Gooseberry. Very hardy berries that can grow as far north as the Arctic Circle. So this intuition card is number 42. If you intuitively know that, duck, duck, goose, I think they were talking about, that's the trick. This is playing duck, duck, goose with your intuition, with your understanding of the world around you, of using kind of your intuitive senses to put a glass to the wall for someone else, for other people, for yourself, right? Depending on how you're perceiving these things. If we're talking about root chakra energy, then that's totally different. If we're talking about the roots of a plant, finding water, what you want to do is find, if you've never heard Migos, Pure Water, I think he's actually a song called Mustard. There's your mustard oil for the day. Anyway, let's see what comes out with Nadia Turner deck, the fairy world, the old one. Okay, this is this says the ancestors call, seek their wisdom. You see do you see that little diamond right there? Is in the reverse. This child right here was not ready to catch that new plate of oysters. They were wholly unprepared, okay? I'm feeling like this is bubble guts. This is the understanding of bubble guts. This is number 19, number 10 in the old one. That's what I mean by there's a preparedness that needs to happen. There's a recognition, a realization of not only kind of the provider and the emitter of whatever transaction, transmission, transmutation of energy that's happening, whether above or below ground, okay? You got to use your God-given talent. God-given talent meaning just like your natural senses, what you were born with, what your parents gave you. Common sense and logic go hand in hand with all of the findings that they found. So you probably wouldn't find an evolutionary Let me just say, like, you wouldn't just grow a tail if you didn't need to balance, for example, or you wouldn't grow uh, uh, an extra pancreas, for no good reason. Usually, when a species evolves, it's for survival. It's to elongate the time space that they're able to spend as a species on this planet. And if that is something that's kind of like the plague and wipes out the entire everyone who's, this is commonly eaten. This is inokataki, most commonly used as in warm dishes like soup, stews, and stir fry dishes. That's coming out with family. This is number 3. Coming out with number 10. So here's 10 in the upright. Here's 10 in the reverse. This is oyster in the reverse. This is family, number 10 in the upright. I'm telling you right now, you got to kind of know, did the whole class go out with their family and eat oysters yesterday, or was it just this child? Was it just this child? Because this child will recover from a stomach bug, from food poisoning, right? It's an allergy reaction, actually, to the food. This one, this midsection here, though, if the whole family, if we're talking about groups of like bats and caterpillars and humans and stuff, people, are we going to survive that? If we don't develop together with the two, by the way, fenugreek using cooking medicine, soaps, and cosmetics. So if we stop cooking, if we don't know how medicinal terminology or medicinal applications of like stomach flu versus an outbreak works, right? Are we just gonna just progressively go back to Neanderthal and Homo sapien and like then, you know what I'm saying? And ironically enough, they might have had more of a psychic awareness than we do at this point in time because we're more technologically inclined. So let's see what else comes out for psychic awareness and fenugreek in the reverse. Seed spells. That's what I meant. So let's say this is a garden. Did this specific mushroom not survive over here? You planted a whole bunch of mushrooms. Let's just say these are edible. Don't take my word for it. This is not edible necessarily. This mushroom can eat wood, paper, coffee grounds, nematodes, and even petroleum. Holy cow. Well, good thing it's in the reverse. Okay, that's probably why that kid got so damn sick. Um, did you plant some of those and they just didn't survive? Didn't quite make it because the ancestors called and they want their wisdom back? Like, ring, ring, give me my wisdom. Give me my, yeah, right? Yeah, did those survive or did they not survive? That's for you to figure out. It's, this part that's kind of scary. If you planted a whole bunch of them and some of them do survive, this seed spell is create your story. It is the most potent form of magic. Intuitively speaking, you would hope those did not survive. Intuitively. That would be the psychic awareness that is lacking at this time, is that this could make this kind of oyster that eats through even coffee grounds, wood, and petroleum. If they do survive, and we don't know about it, there's no psychic awareness about it. If this kid didn't just eat the oysters, if they're actually sick from something in the medicine, right? The medicine of this plant. It's now been spread throughout. You know how they've got recalls all the time on like sunscreen? They're like, one year they're like, if you don't wear sunscreen, you're going to die of cancer. And the next year they're like, turns out that actually the sunscreen causes cancer. That's kind of what I'm saying here, is that there's like a need to understand origin, emitter, provider, transmitter. And then we can most commonly kind of use our intuition to sharpen the psychic awareness so that that doesn't happen anymore. There's no sharing. These two need to be separated into separate corners of the room, and they're not going to hug it out. Okay, no hugging it out. It's being quarantined. It's the signal, the goosebumps. I'm just seeing goosebumps here. It's gooseberries. If you've never read the Goosebumps series, they're scary books for children. Pretty good actually if you want to scare the crap out of your kid. However, you know when you get the hair on the back of your neck stands up, or you get goosebumps, you're either cold, there's been some type of temperature change, or you're having an intuitive understanding of fear or anxiety or some change in your chemical understanding of what's going on around you. Okay, when you get goosebumps, it's typically not, and it's not from a temperature change. That's the same here. Understand the survival, fight or flight might be kicking in right then. And if you're not aware of the fact that there's a ball headed for your face, or maybe like a tiger, a lion, or a bear about to bite your body into pieces, you probably aren't going to have a big family. It's why there's like the autonomic nervous system that they were talking about anyway, and why sense of hearing is usually pretty acute in most predators, not predators, animals who are hunted by predators. Ooh, we got the mandrake spirit. Keep yourself rooted in the earth. Spring is coming. Dream deep. And that's kind of what I'm saying. This mandrake spirit is the most commonly, like, see how she's holding her arms, like she's rubbing her arms, like, it's kind of cold in here. She's like, it's a bit nipply. If you can't feel that feeling, you're not probably going to have a great big family. No offense, but this is number 3 on top of number 10, which is that oyster. So again, this ties back together kind of succinctly. Then we've got Fringe Dweller here at the bottom of the deck. It was in the reverse, but I also kind of just was like not shuffling very well. So I don't know. I'm going to take it in the upright. It goes with Gooseberry number 42, Intuition. You got to have sharp enough wits about you to know when you're being preyed upon. And if you can discreetly let your neighbors kind of like, hey, the lady in number has a termite problem, or a bedbug problem, or a lice problem, or maybe their kid has a stomach bug, you can then prevent the entire family of humans or of bats or whatever sonar tricks you need to use. To you kind of let them know that they all need to get goosebumps now. Okay, now's the time for the mandrake goosebumps and get it like. This could also be excitement, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like knock the mandrake. I'm just saying the goosebumps are here, and so is the Fringe Dwellers. See with eyes and heart wide opened. Ooh, eyes wide opened. As a verse to eyes wide shut. As a verse to eyes wide shut. Have you seen Aries? That never mind. I'm gonna leave it alone. There's a movie called Aries with the mask and the secret society. Anyway, gooseberry is very hard hardy berry that can grow as far north as the Arctic Circle. I think I've already said that. So there's the cold. And the people that live on the fringes are usually the ones that may have either excellent intuition and psychic awareness or none at all. It's like not having a television set, so you don't have any clue what people are talking about when they're talking about celebrity news or what like current events. I have no clue. I don't have a TV, and if I did, I didn't watch it. Right? It's kind of that sense. By the same token, they did mention briefly. One of the researchers was from Australia, I believe. Yeah. So if you were talking about Aboriginal untouched cultures of people who actually have developed their sixth senses a little bit more than the average human is known to have done thus far. Things like ESP are not that far fetched, and that's kind of where we are. I want to say in limbo between catching goosebumps. There's also a really good TV show called Fringe. If you've never watched it, go look it up. It's a series, but it is about fringe science. So it might be kind of interesting when taken into plant accountability. Tulu.